Welcome back at the Artist Coaching Podcast this week. And as you can see, for those who are watching the podcast live on YouTube right now, there's no Ralph, there's no Jay this week. Jay's in, I believe it was China. Ralph is taking a day off, but we have another very special guest. He has been in the podcast before for the real OGs who have been tuned in before. Mr. Josh Tissier.
Hey, how's it going?
Hello, welcome. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good. Back on UK time zone now. Took a few days, but yeah, finally got there.
Yeah, that's the like the how you call it like the yeah the what's the name? I just blanked out.
Jet lag?
Yeah, the jet lag.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's the jet lag in full effect.
yeah, exactly. It's
It's
fine. I would say it's fine going out there because you can just stay awake until
mm,
like a sensible time. But for
mm-hmm.
me, coming back, I'm just like crashing on the sofa at like 9 p.m., which for me
Oh,
is way too early. So yeah, it took a week to get back to like the 11 p.m. Bedtime.
yeah, I can imagine. Yeah, I used to normally like back in the days it took me like 2 3 days to kind of get back into the rhythm. And that was the problem as well when you had like short weekends of touring, so not 2 weeks but like 2 or 3 days.
Yeah,
Then the whole rhythm was screwed because once you were there, you were kind of finally in the schedule of there, and then you had to leave and go back home. So you were constantly fighting with the time zone.
yeah,
But yeah, you went for 2 weeks, right? Last time.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that helps. Makes things a bit easier.
It does, but then because it was Songkran, there were so many parties, so many events, and then the traffic was insane. So we would say leave the club at a sensible time, say like
Mm-hmm.
3 a.m., and then
Mm-hmm.
get back at 5 a.m. because
Oh,
trying to call like an Uber, or they call it Bolt over there, you were just like you were getting one, it got cancelled, getting one cancelled, and in the end we had to like walk 15, 20 minutes in the right direction away from all the traffic and then call one. But
oh
took a
yeah.
day or two to even realize that. So
Yeah, I can imagine. Yeah. Anyways, yeah, as I've mentioned in the post before, and when we talked briefly before the podcast episode, I think it would be nice for today to catch up with you to see how you've been doing in the past few months. Because there have been some recent developments which has been huge, and I think your story will be very valuable for yeah, aspiring artists who are kind of building their way towards the same path that you're walking on right now. Um,
sounds good. Yep.
so yeah, where should we start? As in, maybe the TikTok viral, because that's quite a moment that sparked everything.
Yeah, I mean that actually happened initially when I was over in Asia in February.
Mm,
I think it was like a couple of days after my last show there. I just noticed like the Spotify streams on the track E, which is my collaboration with Respawn. It was going from I want to say it was doing like 7 or 8K streams a day, which was already pretty good.
when was this track released?
March last year,
March. Okay.
yeah. So it'd been out like 11 months or so, and it did
Yeah.
relatively well. But it had like trickled off and was just getting a few thousand streams a day. Which, yeah, as I say, I was pretty happy with
it's
anyway. Like,
it's funny to hear you say that a couple of thousand plays a day is okay. Well, I'll still remember we've been working together for years now.
yeah,
Like I remember different times.
yeah, 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 definitely. I
Yeah,
remember
it's
being super excited, like getting say 10K streams total
yeah.
many years ago on one track.
Uh,
I
how much streams do you have now, like monthly listeners?
think it's like 1.3 million or something.
Phew, that's a lot. It's
Yeah,
insane.
pretty crazy.
Yeah.
But
Oh,
like a lot of it, I think it went from say 300K monthly listeners to 1.3 million within the space of like 4 or 5 weeks because of the viral track.
that's
Um,
insane. Yeah, yeah. So that track got released last year, and then suddenly, like after the track kind of plateaued in streams, suddenly you started noticing the numbers going up again.
Yeah, pretty much because I'm a little bit addicted to Spotify for Artists. So I'm always checking just like number of listeners at the time, and then always checking, like yesterday's results. And then I just started noticing like it was very gradual, just going up and up and up. It's like this is weird. Like where's this coming from? And it went on for like just over a week, and then a fan of mine sent me a TikTok video and said, "Oh, bro, have you seen this?" And I was like, "Ah, okay," because basically it was a video of somebody DJing, and I think at the time that video had like 4 million views and like tens of thousands of likes, people
Was it like
commenting like,
was it a famous DJ who posted it, or?
"No, no." I think well, at the time he had quite a small following, but now he's gained like 80,000 followers, mostly from that video. So because it
Nice.
has like 8.5 million views now, that one video.
8.5 million
Yeah, it's insane. I wish it
on
was my
TikTok.
video. Yeah.
Wow. And I honestly, like, I've looked at the video, but to be honest, it's not that special, right?
No,
Like,
no,
it's just a guy playing in a club with some people around behind them, right?
exactly.
Uh,
Yeah,
like the casual DJ video you see on TikTok right now,
yeah,
and he's just playing your song, and that's about it.
pretty much. Yeah. I mean, there's maybe two or three different camera angles that switches, so
Mm-hmm.
maybe that helps with watch time. But yeah, it's
Wait,
nothing
let me
crazy.
let me check if I can put up the video. Where can I
That could be
find
clip
it?
of the week.
Yeah, exactly. Let's just get it directly. Where can I find it?
I've reposted it on my TikTok, but I can try and
On
find
your
the link.
TikTok. Let me check if I can find it. Josh the Tissier.
If you go on my like reposted videos, it's a bit further down.
Um, shouldn't be hard to find with 8 million views. Oh,
I
here it
found.
is. Yeah. Wait. Let me share it. Oh shit. Share screen. Josh Letitia. Okay. Here we go, guys. So this is the clip that got Josh 17.
Now this looks like on top of me, so everybody just follow me, cause we need a little controversy, cause it feels so empty without me. Say this looks like on top of me, so everybody just follow me, cause we need a little controversy, cause it feels so empty. Drop it.
Yeah. So that's the clip. And if you saw it, it's just a casual DJ playing in a club with some different angles, as you mentioned. It's not that
Yeah,
special, but 8.5 million views.
it's crazy.
Holy shit.
Yeah, it's insane. Like I wish I had recorded that and I wish it was on my profile because that would help
Yeah.
with gaining more followers. But it's good that like Respawn and I have obviously got the streams on our
Hmm.
Spotify for it. So
And tell me a bit more about that period in time. As in, what did you start to notice aside from the fact that the track started to go up in numbers? Was there anything else that you noticed?
I mean I did gain some followers, but whether or not it was directly related to that, it's hard to tell.
Hmm.
Um, but also like now I'm even like yesterday I had an email from a record label saying like, "Hey Josh, really love some of your tracks. Like, can you send me demos?" Which is quite rare. I think that record labels actually reach out to you. Um, so I think
Yeah.
that's part of it as well.
Yeah, definitely. Like we've talked about it before, but you wanna, as an artist, you kind of want to put yourself in the position where the labels come to you, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah,
where you have enough leverage to say, "Hey, I'm this interesting, so you come to me." And that's what's happening right now. Like you've kind of broke through the glass ceiling, I would say, and got the attention of a lot of people. And funny enough, it's because of a TikTok viral. Who would have known?
Yeah, it's actually really like inspiring and motivating to see that like one video can trigger that much attention.
Yeah,
Because it's not just Spotify, like Apple Music, YouTube, Deezer, everything is just through the
yeah,
roof. I mean, Spotify, a few weeks ago, we were doing like 100,000 streams a day, every
Phew.
single day of the week, even on like a Sunday, which for dance music, that many
Yeah.
streams on a Sunday is insane.
Yeah, and
So,
is it cooling off in any kind of way, or does it keep going?
um, I mean, it's cooled off in some sort of way, but it still did like 85,000 streams yesterday, which
Oh man,
I'm pretty happy about that. So,
yeah,
yeah,
that's insane. Yeah, it's that's the weird thing about the music industry, and as you say, the fun and the motivating thing. Like this is one of the other examples that you just simply never know where your music ends up.
yeah,
Like
yeah,
this
it's
is the
true.
whole reason why you should put out your music, and even 1 year later, the song can become a TikTok viral hit. Like it's hard to explain how those things work, but somehow if you put all those songs into the universe, they will start to create opportunities for you, right? And this is a perfect example of it. And I've seen many before in my career, to be honest. But it's great to see that it's happening to you right now. It's well deserved.
Thanks. Yeah, it's I think we've spoken about this maybe the last time I was on the podcast, where it's like buying lottery tickets.
Hmm.
Every single release is like a lottery ticket, so you've got more chances to win the lottery.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah,
So
that's a good way to put it. Yeah, it's true. Okay. Um, so that track is kind of blowing up as we speak. Are there any other plans with that track from now on, or is it just like sitting back and
well,
enjoying the ride?
actually, um, the track that's on Spotify and everywhere right now is just the instrumental. Um, but we have the vocal version coming out on Friday, which got signed to a
With
bigger label.
Eminem vocal on it.
Yeah, I mean it's somebody else doing the vocals. It's obviously not Eminem. The track
Yeah.
didn't go that crazy, um, but yeah. So I'm excited to see how that goes because
and
like a big label is like invested in that quite heavily. So
and that also came from the viral hit. So they reached out to you saying, "Hey,
yeah,
we want to release this."
yeah, exactly. They just reached out to me and Respawn, and then we put them in touch with the label that like um, now own a portion of it instead of the full track,
Hmm.
and they came up with a deal. And then they also were interested in doing like a vocal version, which effectively is like the mashup that I made that got ended up getting played. So
Yeah, that's the one you hear in the video, right?
yeah, it's just a mashup that I made with Eminem for live shows, and I just put it on SoundCloud, and
Yeah.
people downloaded it and
Cool.
played it.
So it gets re-released 1 year after the initial release,
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah,
and now they're trying to market it again.
pretty much. Yeah.
Oh,
I
that's
mean,
fun.
in theory, it should do better than the instrumental, but we've also seen examples in the past, I think, where they try and do like a vocal version of a track and it doesn't do as well as the instrumental.
Yeah.
W-
I was
Wasn't
actually
wasn't there like a vocal version of Animals by Martin Garrix that just flopped or something?
I'm not sure, to be honest.
Maybe
Like
not that one, but there's definitely some examples where they
yeah.
try to add vocals and it doesn't work. So
Well, this morning I was in the car listening to do you still know the Deadmau5 song I remember?
yeah,
Yeah,
classic.
and then you had the track from Alexis Jordan called Happiness.
Mm, doesn't ring a bell. Maybe
Yeah,
if I
it's
heard
like
it.
it's I remember it's the instrumental of I remember, but with her vocal, but she released it as her track or something.
Right.
But both equally good songs. I like the instrumental, but I also like the more commercial kind of version from her.
Mm,
But it's crazy to see how tracks can develop over time and which one might do better than the other. I actually see someone in the chat right now. Ben Singh says there was one of Mammoth called Body Talk, and that didn't do as well. Mammoth, obviously, the instrumental was a
yeah.
huge hit. But to be honest, I've never heard Body Talk, the
No.
vocal version of it. It's Yeah, it's insane.
I think it
Yeah,
was the same with
let's.
Tsunami as well, right? There was
Yeah, I saw somebody mentioning that as well, tsunami. But I'm not aware of a vocal version of that. Maybe that's the whole reason why.
By the way, where do you see the chat on this app? Because
Oh no, I'm on the YouTube live stream.
okay, right.
So you can, if you go to YouTube and check the live stream, you can follow
Okay.
the
Maybe that's
comments.
helpful as well.
Yeah. Anyway, I hope your vocal version will perform equally or hopefully even better. That will be insane if you grab some radio attention with it. It's to be honest, it's perfectly timed.
In theory, the vocal version should do pretty well because that's the version that went viral on TikTok,
Hmm.
and everyone's going to Spotify. And I get questions like, "When's the vocal version coming?" Because this is just an instrumental. So yeah, but we'll see. You can never predict anything in the music industry.
No, that's true. But logically thinking about it, as in, e- even from a DJ perspective as well, like I think most DJs would prefer playing the vocal version because that's what the audience knows, right? That's what they can
It's the version
signal.
I play. I play my mashup as opposed to the instrumental. So
Exactly. There's a reason why you made that mashup. So I think from a DJ perspective, that will be much more interesting to play,
mm,
and from a listening perspective as well. But yeah, as you said, music can do weird things. So let's not
exactly.
predict anything and just hope for the best.
I always find that like when you release a track, you think, "Oh, this is going to be the biggest track ever," and then it just doesn't do that well. And then maybe a track that you not saying it's bad, but you just think, "Ah, I'll put it out and see what happens," and then it just like explodes.
Yeah,
It's weird.
exactly. And was it the same with this one? As in, didn't you have that high of an expectation for this one?
To be honest, I did have a really high expectation, and it did do pretty well for the first few months,
Hmm.
and then it obviously trailed off, and I thought, okay, like not bad, but not what I was hoping for. And then yeah, 11 months
Again.
later.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. Yeah, it's insane. Okay, so that happened, and as you mentioned, that came one when you were on tour in Asia for the first time.
Yeah,
Yeah, let's talk about that because you recently started like touring in Asia. You did some international gigs before, but this was your first longer tour, right?
yeah, first time in Asia like ever. So
Yeah, and like 2 weeks in a row,
the the first trip was 3 weeks because
about 3 weeks.
yeah, basically at the end of it, we just decided to have like 1 week to chill and just actually enjoy the place. So
Yeah. So could you tell the audience a bit more about how that came, how that happened? Like, how did that tour happen?
um, I think maybe last summer I got a message from like a booker stroke resident DJ in Macau who just followed me on Instagram and said, "Oh, really like some of your work and your mashups. Let me know if you want to come and play in Macau sometime." So yeah, I just let him know that yeah, I'd love to come. It's just
Yeah.
took a few months for me to kind of work out the best time to go. Because I think the piece of advice he gave me was avoid Chinese New Year because the flight
Mm.
prices go insane. So I think I went the week after Chinese New Year or something.
Okay.
And
And
then once I kind of had the first one locked in, that's when I started messaging like club promoters and bookers and trying to get as many dates as possible. So
and how did you approach that? Like, is that as simple as reaching out people on Instagram on and sending direct messages, or?
I mean, you make it sound simple. It is that simple, but actually, like trying to find like the clubs that actually play your style of music, and then trying to find the actual booker of that club. That's probably
Hmm.
the hardest thing because they're not like they're not sort of advertising themselves like, hey, message me for gigs
Yeah,
because like
exactly.
they don't want those messages because they're getting hundreds of them. So
Yeah.
um, so I think
And
it's kind of a numbers game. Like I've messaged
yeah.
so many of them, and some of them don't respond, or some of them can't do it at the time that you're there, or perhaps like the fee doesn't work out, or whatever it might be. So
Hmm.
again, it's back to that lottery ticket thing. Um, just trying to contact as many people as possible.
Yeah. And then you have your gigs scheduled, as in you have a few of those gigs that might fit into 2 weekends,
Mm, yeah,
and then the travel comes. Like, how
yeah.
do you get there? Like, how did you experience that, and what needed to happen in order to, yeah, to make that gigs happen?
What do you mean in terms of like booking the flights or?
Well, it's one thing to reach out to bookers and to see if you're able to play there, but you also actually need to get there. So you need to book flights and hotels, and like all the travel that comes with it needs to happen as well.
Yeah, yeah, that was a very time consuming thing as well. Just trying to find the best deals on like Skyscanner and like Airbnb, and just kind of making sure that you've booked like in advance so that way you get good deals, but at the same time you want to leave some windows open in case that gig that you might get actually comes through. So yeah, that's a challenge as well. Just the whole kind of logistics of planning everything.
Yeah. How time consuming was that?
I don't know. I've definitely wasted some, well, not wasted, but spent quite a few afternoons on like Sundays trying to figure out the best route. And yeah, even things like trying to get like an Airbnb or a hotel close to the club on the night of the gig, because that helps, especially with like big cities like Bangkok.
Hmm. Yeah, that's insane. Did that help you, like in hindsight, did it help you to understand why having a booker might be handy at some point?
Yeah, definitely. It would be so nice if you just didn't have to do all of the messaging, do all of the booking of the hotels, and yeah, it's also takes away from actually making music, because the time that I would normally be making music was booking flights and trying to figure out, where's the best place to stay at
Yeah.
certain times. So
Yeah,
it,
doing the paperwork actually.
yeah, exactly. It
Yeah, and
was
that,
it's kind of like booking a holiday in some ways, but just with the added stress of I need to be here and there, and it's not like you're booking one flight there and one flight back.
yeah, exactly. It's a lot less time sensitive as well.
Mm, exactly.
And tell me about your experiences on that first tour. Like, how did you experience it all? To be away from home, like playing all these gigs, maybe having your first fans waiting for you.
Yeah, it was awesome. I mean, it was something that I'd been like dreaming about and working towards for over a decade. So it was uh it was incredible. Absolutely loved it. Didn't get homesick. Like I wasn't even thinking about going back home. Um, but then I obviously know that if you were doing that for a very long period of time and not being home for months, then I can see maybe it gets challenging, particularly if you're dealing with different time zones. But yeah, the time zones weren't too much of an issue once we were there.
Yeah, if
Um,
you're there for a longer period of time, it's not really a problem.
yeah,
That's true.
and just like having never been to Asia before, it was just a really interesting experience. Like we spent a couple of days in Hong Kong, and then it's interesting because like Macau is a 1 hour boat ride away, and yet it's so different. Like it has its own currency. They don't accept certain payment methods. Like yeah, it was just interesting to see two places that are so close to each other, so different in the culture
Yeah.
and everything. Um,
And
but yeah,
what's one of the things you did not really expect but did happen?
um, maybe about the whole fans type thing, because like if I talk about where I live, Guernsey, there's no EDM scene at all. There's not really any scene of anything except for drum and bass. Um,
Hmm.
so it was pretty cool, particularly in Bangkok, that like I had a couple of like fans who'd been following me for a little while. I put them on my guest list at the club, and then they came along. They were on my table, had some drinks together, and then um, yeah, we just basically became friends. And now there's like a group of five of us that are friends. They came to my festival show in April, um, and they even took us to Pattaya for a day trip, like in one of their cars,
Oh, nice. Yeah.
and bought me a birthday cake, which was really unexpected and really nice.
Nice. So
Um,
you really built relationships.
yeah, I think it was really refreshing to be in a place where there's such a like a passion for like the EDM scene,
Yeah.
whereas I'm from like a place that like nobody really cares about EDM. So that was really nice, and then nice to see that people kind of cared what you were actually doing,
Yeah.
which I don't know, maybe that sounds strange to some people, but because of where I live, that was an eye opener.
Yeah, because you live in Guernsey, which is a pretty small island on the
Mm,
south of England. That is
yeah,
between France and England.
yeah,
So you're also pretty isolated in some kind of way, right?
yeah, I would say so.
Yeah. Um, Fast forward a little bit to the second tour because you just got back from your second time in Asia
Yep.
and you got to play at a big festival show there. Um, and it sounded to me like that second tour was on another level in a lot of ways, as in the festival show was one of your biggest shows up until now.
Yeah, I think it
Where
was the biggest one, to be honest. Yeah.
Yeah, where you had your own visuals and stuff. You brought your visual guy who lived there, right? Could
Yep.
you tell us a bit more about that?
Yeah, so after my first trip to Asia, I realized that my visuals weren't that great and I wanted to invest in well, in new headshots, new visuals, like just an actual intro visual to go with my intro song. So a friend of mine sent me this guy's name and number, contacted him. He's actually a Dutch guy, but he lives in Bangkok and he's like a VJ by day or by night, and then a visuals guy who builds all that stuff. Yeah, during the day, uh, and then um, because I think um, he wanted to like have like my new intro as like a part of his portfolio. He came along to the festival and like lended a hand with that, and yeah, we just had some fun as well. And I've forgotten the question. What was the
Um,
question?
no, that wasn't necessarily a question. More like your experiences at the festival itself. Like,
Yeah,
could you tell us how the atmosphere was and how it was to enter the stage and notice all the things that needed to be arranged?
yeah. So well, that festival was it was really bad timing. There was a really bad storm, basically like an hour or two after the festival opened. So they had to close the grounds for like 2.5 hours or something.
Hmm.
So by the time the festival reopened, my set would have already been finished. But luckily, the organizers like moved everyone's set and kind of cut everyone's set in half, except for the headliners, which is fair because like people probably bought a ticket to see them. Um, so I was told, yeah, that my 60-minute set is now 30 minutes. So I quickly like whipped out my laptop like in the backstage and was like, right, this is kind of the folder of tracks that I kind of wanted to play and like had in mind. Now it's like, right, let's just go all in and just go banger, banger, banger. Um, so yeah, I spent sort of 10, 15 minutes just not redoing the whole thing, but just really trying to make it super focused and make the most out of it. Um, and then when I got to the stage, I was told that I'd only have 20 minutes. So to be honest, like I was a little bit nervous beforehand, but then because I was so focused and a little bit stressed as to not even knowing if I would play, all of that just I didn't even think about it. I was just like full on, like let's go.
Yeah.
Um, so it's quite a interesting experience to have that, I guess, quite early on because you can kind of see where things would go wrong. Um, and actually having his name's Wesley, the visuals guy with me, he really helped because he went to the front of house and helped them with like setting up my intro. Um, whereas I think if he wasn't there because of the storm and all the stresses around that, that probably wouldn't have got played. So
Yeah.
yeah, big shout out to him.
Yeah, that's definitely one part of touring is that there will be unexpected things,
Yeah,
and
definitely.
especially if you come to different um, how do you say that, like different part of the world, as in there's different cultures, different way of arranging things, different levels of how festivals are being organized. Like be having a high adapting skill is a nice skill to have as an artist, because you need to be flexible in a lot of ways, and knowing how to deal with pressure as well.
Yeah,
Because as you mentioned, like you came onto the stage and they just told you like, oh, it's not going to be 30, it's going to be 20 sets to 20
yeah,
minutes. It's like, oh shit, okay. You have to handle quickly under pressure. um,
exactly.
so that's something you definitely need to learn when you start touring more often.
Yeah, I think I mean it was a really good set, by the way. Like those 20 minutes, like the crowd really went for it, and I really enjoyed it, and it was just like it was awesome. But at the same time, I'm like it's a bit of a shame that it wasn't like it wasn't 60 minutes, because I think it was going to be like yeah my biggest gig so far. But I'm just taking it as like a learning experience, have some good content. Um, yeah, and it was a fun night in the end,
Yeah, exactly.
I'd say.
That's nice to hear, man. So here we are having a viral TikTok hit and having two long AZ tours in the pocket. What's the plan for now for you?
Um, keep releasing music, and I'm actually going back to Asia again in July. I got my gig in the Philippines confirmed yesterday. So
Nice,
again,
congrats.
pressure. Thanks. So yeah, again, like pressure is on. Just now messaging promoters, like ones that I'd worked with before, and some new ones, and some other ones that couldn't fit me in previous ones. We're just focusing on getting as many as I can around that other date, really.
Yeah,
Um,
back
yeah,
to the
it's
paperwork.
yeah, exactly. And then somewhere in there, I'm gonna carry on releasing music, so it's
Yeah.
gets
I,
very
I,
stressful sometimes.
I'm wondering, what's one of the things you underestimated the most? As in, one thing that impacted your career a lot, but you underestimated that.
Um, it's a good question. I'm tempted to say things like bootlegs, to be
Hmm.
honest, which I know will make you happy, because yeah, just I think it's good for exposure. Getting a lot of DJs playing your bootlegs. In fact, that's actually how I got the gig in Bangkok in the first place, because I noticed that they were playing some of my tracks out there, and then I got tagged in a video from a friend, and then I
Oh.
kind of used that as a way to start the conversation with that club. So
Oh, yeah, I actually saw someone in the chat mentioning something similar. Foster and Gallardo said also a
it,
very
it,
good tip.
it
If
was them. It
Oh
was
yeah,
them who shared it. Yeah,
oh yeah, they say if your music gets played on the club, reach out to that club, because if the residents play your music, it's good for the owner to book you. Wow, thanks,
exactly.
Foster and Gallardo.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. They were the ones that were there that night and tagged me. So cheers,
Oh,
guys.
nice. Yeah. Okay, so that actually really helped to reach out to the club, mentioning that your music was already being played there.
Yeah, I think because I'd sent them a DM beforehand and just got ignored because obviously they get loads of DMs. But
Hmm.
then the fact that I was like tagged in a story and it was them, I think they were also tagged. I then used that as a way of like getting in, and then
Ah.
yeah, because I think maybe in like Instagram inbox, it's probably higher up if they're tagged in a story than just a
Oh,
message.
really? Oh, I
I,
didn't know.
I think so. Yeah.
Could be, yeah. I'm not sure. I'm becoming a boomer on those things. um. Anyway, as always, and you probably know this because you're listening quite often as well. As always, we also have questions from the community. For those who don't know, we have a Discord community where we are with almost 700 music producers, DJs, any other type of artists out there from all over the world, where we talk about music all day, every day. So if you're not a part of that yet, make sure to join that Discord group so you can also send in questions every week for the podcast. Um, and by the way, now that I'm mentioning it, starting tomorrow on the 1st of May, we will start off with a challenge, the 30-day music challenge. Have you seen that coming by, Josh?
I have, but I can't commit to it, I'm afraid. Just too busy.
Well, for those who can, the idea is to make music for 30 minutes for 30 days straight. And the whole idea behind it is to build a habit eventually, to build a consistency habit. Because what we've noticed at artist coaching is that a lot of artists struggle with consistency, and a lot of artists struggle with the resistance of showing up every day. Like it's very hard to sit down every day for even just a couple of minutes and actually make music. So we want to create a challenge, do it all together, motivate each other to keep doing it, so that eventually by the end of this challenge, a month from now, you hopefully have the the habit of showing up and making music every now and then. So if you want to join that challenge, that's also happening in the Discord. Make sure to join that Discord. It's in the description right now. Um, but for now, let's go to the.
Community questions.
There it is, all live. Community questions. Where is it? Here it is. Question from Mikey Foden. Question for you lads. What do you feel is a good release cadence? I see some artists do 3 to 4 releases in quick succession and then go quiet, and others seem to spread it out. I've heard aiming for at least one every couple of months seems to be a good one, but wanted your thoughts. What are your thoughts on that, Josh? You're releasing every month, right?
Yeah, sometimes even more, which gets a little bit too much because, for example, I released a track on Friday and I haven't even made a post about it yet because I'm still like posting about previous stuff. So um, I think probably once every 4 weeks is good.
That's what you've been doing for a long period of time, right?
Yeah,
And is that doable with promotion as well? As in, do you have enough time to promote the songs properly?
I think so. Yeah, once every 4 weeks is good. And then what I've been doing as well is doing a bootleg in between. So like every two
Mm,
weeks. So like one, say Spotify like actual release, and then one like SoundCloud bootleg type thing.
yeah. So yeah, and then the bootleg gets promoted on Hyped It or something.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, that's actually a good tip. Like I do agree with that. As in, I think for now, one a month or one every 6 weeks could be a good cadence. You do want to reserve some time to work on the promotion of the song, because eventually you need ears to listen to the music, right? Just simply putting it out there is not enough as a starting artist. So the promotion is not something you want to underestimate. Reaching out to playlists, reaching out to other DJs to support your track, all those type of things require time, and it's essential to get your music heard. So make sure you have enough time in between releases to keep doing that. And in most cases, what I've seen in coaching for most artists, that comes down to once a month, I would say. Um,
I think
yeah,
once a month is pretty sustainable
yeah, exactly.
once you get into the rhythm of it.
Yeah, exactly. And that's very important, as in that's also what we look for in coaching, as in we're trying to build sustainable patterns. So as Mikey said as well, like some artists do 3 or 4 releases super quickly after each other and then go rogue or then go quiet after those releases. Like consistency eventually is much better. So we work towards sustainable schedule, and for most artists that's once a month. So in that way you can keep releasing music throughout the year consistently. Um, Oh, I actually had a follow-up question, but you answered it already. Like, is it worth doing official releases every couple of months with bootlegs or mashups in between? Yes, it is. And I
Yeah, I think
think
so.
Josh is the living proof of why it could work.
I think also because some of the bigger labels they want exclusivity periods. Like Revealed's default is 3 weeks either side. So
Yeah,
um, maybe I'm breaking the contract. I don't actually know, but I do release bootlegs before those 3 weeks because it's not on
yeah.
Spotify, so I don't think it counts as a release. But
Yeah, exactly. It's good. It's good mention. As in, most labels do have a period of time of a buffer, let's say, to have exclusivity to not be in the way of the release. Um, so yeah, it's that's why 4 weeks is also a good cadence. Question from Formula C. Question about getting booked or getting noticed. I'm a raw hardstyle producer and it feels like it's impossible to get bookings or even to get noticed. Even with the DJ contest, it feels like it will be the most popular artists that have a chance to win. And if I wanted someone to check it out, I have to push it in their face. For example, the DJ is a DJ contest. What? For example, there is a DJ contest of Intense Festival coming up, and my head is already thinking, yeah, I'm not winning this because I don't have a lot of followers, fans. I'm still going to participate. But do you maybe have some tips, or is there even a way I can stimulate people to check out the mix I upload on SoundCloud? Yeah, that's the question. Um,
To be
to be
honest, I
honest,
don't.
yeah,
Sorry, I was going to say I don't know how DJ contests work. Is it based on the number of likes, follows, votes, or is it?
officially it isn't, but they do end up in that way most of the times, and that's what I wanted to say. Like, I'm not a big fan of DJ contests, and the whole reason why is because most of the time the person who organizes the DJ contest, um, yeah, uses you in some kind of way because they host an event and they just get free DJs in return, and they sell tickets, and that's their way of having a free lineup. And in most cases, even if you're winning, you don't get that much. Like, maybe if you'll get like a resident spot at that club, and that could be valuable, like, sure, that makes sense. But in most cases, what you'll win is just not valuable at all. And what you should also realize is, if you enter DJ contest, like, how many people do you actually reach? Like, if you play there, like, how many people will be there? 50, maybe 100, maybe a bit more. But if you would spend all those hours that you spent on that DJ contest, if you would spend that on creating content, you will probably reach hundreds of people, maybe thousands. So DJ contests, I I'm not a big fan of it, unless it gives you a great opportunity to give you that residency spot. Um, Otherwise, I'm not sure if it would make sense, to be honest. What are your thoughts, Josh?
I mean, I've got no experience of doing one, so it's hard for me to say. But yeah, I do agree that you've got to make sure it's worth your time, because otherwise you could potentially be making some content on social media that goes viral or something, which could
Yeah.
end up getting you a gig anyway. So
Yeah, I think a lot of people underestimate the power of social media, as in the visibility that you have on social media, the amount of views can be linked towards the people in a club, right? But in a club, you'll reach 100 to maybe a couple of hundred of people, and on socials, you can reach thousands, like, easier than through contests, for example. So spending more time on being live, for example, like doing live DJ sets on TikTok, that can be much more beneficial than spending time on DJ contests.
yeah, that makes sense to me.
He has another follow-up question. Last year, I've improved a lot with producing music. What makes the tracks I started last year not quite the same quality I have right now? I was thinking about selecting the tracks I like to listen to and post them on SoundCloud, so no official release for those. What are your thoughts about that? So he has some old tracks which he feels like he became a lot better by now, and he doesn't want to release them officially anymore. What are your thoughts on that?
I mean, I've still got some releases on Spotify which I thought about deleting, but I remember you told me not to because it was a good way of people seeing the journey that you went through. But then if you haven't uploaded them in the first place, I'm not too sure. D- Depends, because I guess, like, what's the saying? Another person's trash, or one person's trash is another
Yeah,
person's treasure. So
exactly. That's what I would go for in this thing, as in, it goes back to not knowing where your music ends up. Um, your your 7 could be someone else's 10, as you said. Like somebody else's trash could be someone else's treasure. For you, that track might be written off and might be bad in some kind of way, but to many other people out there, it might be a great track. And the problem with music is you just simply never really know until you release it. And the tracks that don't get any attention at all, they won't get any extra reach, so it will die slowly death, right? So the reach will get cut and nobody will listen to it anymore. And the tracks who do perform great will get more reach. So there isn't really a reason why you shouldn't put out your bad music, because that music is probably already decent. That's my
Yeah,
opinion on it.
makes sense. I was also this reminds me of this is going to sound like a plug, but or a shill, but I don't mean it in that way.
Take your
Like
time.
it was like 6 years ago when I had that Lewis Capaldi bootleg that got played on the US radio, um, and then that ended in like an official remix for a different artist. But when I uploaded that, I thought it was okay, but not like amazing, but it was good enough, I suppose you could say.
Yeah.
And then when it got picked up by the radio, I then went back and listened to it like 3 months later or something, and I was like, oh no, the mix is terrible. Like this isn't good. Like, oh, I was kind of cringing, but then I was getting messages from people saying, oh, this bootleg is so good, and I was thinking, oh, like I want to redo it, you
Yeah.
know. So
Yeah, but that's just another example of why you should put it out there. You know, in most cases, if it's good enough. You should just put it out, and you'll probably notice that for most people the quality is already high enough. And if it isn't, it just dies a slowly death, and that's okay. On to the next one. But make sure to put out the music. That's so important. Question for Josh from Judgment, another community member. You have an insane amount of monthly listeners. Huge congrats, by the way. How do you manage to keep track of getting all your royalties?
well, I have a distributor. I use DistroKid and also have some tracks on TuneCore. Um, so that gets handled through that. And then the label releases, they send you like a statement every 6 months or every 3 months, depending on the
Hmm.
label. And that's it, really.
Yeah, that's the big advantage you have, as in most of the tracks you've released are self-released. So it's easier to keep track on the royalties because it's all automated, right? Through
Yeah.
TuneCore and Discord.
There are some
Discord.
labels that I've worked with that I've never received a statement for, which should probably follow up because some of those tracks actually
Burn
got.
them right now.
Yeah.
What's their name?
No, I'm not gonna say. But yeah, I
No,
should probably follow up with them.
yeah, I think we all have those stories, right? Like labels who never really send royalty statements. But I think that the big advantage you have here is that you've released a lot by yourself. That makes things easier. And the releases you did have on labels were bigger labels, and bigger labels in general have their shit managed, as in it's all, yeah, you'll
Yeah.
receive it, you'll receive your money.
Like Revealed
um
have a pretty, I can't remember the name of the system, but they have a really,
Curve, I think it's Curve.
yeah, I think so.
Yeah,
But
I
yeah,
still
that's
get
really cool.
I still
Y-
get it as well, like $6 every now and then.
But yeah, I was really impressed because I got my first Revealed statement a few weeks back because like it was over a year ago my first release on there, but you know how it takes
Hmm.
forever when it first kicks in. I
Yeah,
was really impressed with their system. You can kind of check each release, check the expenses against each one, and
yeah.
yeah, it was
And
really well done.
did you buy a new house, or or was it like a new piece of furniture?
See this Thai tea?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
My royalties.
yeah. Judgment has a follow-up question. Are you set up as a sole trader or something for tax? How does that work? Not sure.
Well, about a year ago, I set up my own like limited company.
Oh
Um,
yeah,
but in terms of tax, it's a bit of a weird one because I live in an island which
tax
has
haven.
kind of a tax haven, but it also has totally different rules to everywhere else. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And he wonders if you are able to live full time from music right now.
Um, I think I could probably do it, but it's a lot of pressure. And I've spoken to Joey about this a few times, where I think for now I should keep my day job because it removes that pressure of when you're in the studio, like you have to make like hits, because it's like paying for your living. So I think it's healthy to have like, a full-time job for me right now.
Yeah. Yeah, as long as you're capable to keep it and it keeps the balance right and it doesn't really interfere with anything, like then it's definitely a good idea to keep it. But if there's any moment where you feel like, oh, it's really becoming hard to manage both, and it becomes stressful to manage both, um, then it's a different thing. But for now, I think it's still doable.
I also think it's good to not spend, say, 8 hours a day every day in the studio,
Yep.
and have that kind of, when you do have, say, 3 or 4 hours, you make those 3 or 4 hours count.
Yeah.
Because I've done it in the past where I've taken, say, a couple of weeks vacation off work to be in the studio, and it's surprising how little you get done because you think, oh, I've got so much time, and then you just end up wasting it.
Yeah, exactly. It's fun how deadlines can have a benefit for creative people, like having like close windows to work in and adding some kind of pressure can really help creative people to actually deliver some work.
Mm,
Because if there's too much time, as in no boundaries at all, it for some people it becomes too free, as in they'll end up doing nothing.
yeah,
So yeah, it's definitely it's a good way to put it, as in having a job can also add some kind of pressure to deliver when you have to deliver in those hours.
yeah, I think so.
Here's a question from another Josh, Mr. So Delicious. He's another artist coaching member. Um, just starting out on TikTok doing lives and daily videos. Any tips that have massively helped your workflow, engagement, or results that you wish you knew earlier?
Um, I don't really feel qualified to answer this because my TikTok is terrible. I just got lucky that one guy went viral with my song.
Maybe
I'm
you could talk a bit about your content strategy, as in because that has developed over the years a lot.
mm,
Like, what's one thing you wish you knew earlier in regards to content?
uh, definitely to be consistent with it. Like I'm trying to post 5 times a week, like across all the platforms.
Hmm.
Um, Also, don't forget about YouTube Shorts because actually I get more views on YouTube than anywhere else, and I
Yeah, it's
think
the
that's
same.
because people forget about it.
Hmm.
Um, and actually, something I learned from ADE last year was I I was I think I was posting on social media to reach new people, but then I'd forgotten about the like existing followers. And at ADE, I remember so many people saying, "Oh yeah, I watch your reels. Oh, I see you all the time because you're constantly posting." And I think I'd like neglected the existing followers, and I realized at ADE just how important it's good to post consistently for your existing fan base, not just to hopefully get loads of people that don't know who you are to come and follow you.
Yeah,
So
such a good point, to be honest. Like, I talked about this yesterday with another client, as in you should definitely think about the current audience, because those are the people who actually are your fans,
mm,
or are close to becoming your fan, right? So keeping them in the loop, updating them about what you're working on, maybe giving them some advantages over the new crowd, you could say. Um, it's so important. And I think one of the ways that you could do that is by using stories a bit more often, because stories is mostly targeted towards the current audience and reels are more targeted towards a new audience. So posting content on stories, which is more raw, which is more personal, which is more behind the scenes, um, could be a good tip. Yeah.
yeah, I think so. Also, I would say there's like from what I've seen on my engagement is like reels. I tend to get less engagement, but more views. But then on for say like posts where you kind of tell a story and it's a little bit more from the heart, there's less views because it's just the people that follow you, but
Mm.
you get more engagement because it's the people who already know who you are and
Yeah.
they're interested in you. So
Yeah,
I
that's
think
a
also a balance of reels and posts and stories, of course.
yeah, true. You want to focus on building in the width, as in reaching new people and attracting new audiences, but also building into the depth, as in building real relationships with your audience and yeah, building real fans eventually.
Yeah, I think Luso does this pretty well with
Yeah,
the captions on each photo and kind of telling a story.
yeah, he's doing great journey like storytelling there. It's great, great to see.
Yeah, I actually used his technique for the festival storm story and just
Ah,
kind
yeah.
of chose 10 pictures and just kind of told the story as it was unfolding. And yeah, it
It's like a
was,
comic book, right? It's like all these
yeah.
pictures with small little text boxes. It's like a comic book now that I'm thinking about it.
You've read my mind because I was looking for an app that makes the comic book
Yeah.
style thing, and I was thinking maybe to just do that instead.
Yeah, nice. It actually makes me think, as in back in the days when I released a track on Revealed called Kiwi Stick. For those who haven't heard it yet, look it up. It's probably somewhere on Revealed. Yeah, Revealed. I think it's one of the first releases of Revealed. But the way how we marketed it, one of the posts that I did for it was also a comic book. We made a whole page of the story, like how Kiwi Stick became how we ended up getting the title of the song, because there was a USB stick that I found in the fruit basket, and yeah, there was a track on that stick that that I forgot about. So yeah, I made
That's
a I
cool.
made a s- I made a comic book of it, so made me think of it.
It's very cool.
Let's squeeze in one more question from Formula C again. Small question. Should you try getting tracks released by labels, or is it just as effective to release and promote them yourself?
I think it depends on the label.
Hmm. Yeah,
Um,
I would say both,
yeah,
and only do labels when they're able to add value to your release, when they either have a big audience or when they have a good like support um, system where a lot of DJs support what they release.
yeah, I agree. There's been a few labels that I've released on a few years back where I thought to myself, I should just release this myself because
Hmm.
the promotion was next to nothing. But obviously, they're taking like 60 or 70% of the royalties, and it
Yep.
sort of doesn't make like financial sense to do much promotion when you're giving away so much of it.
Yeah, true. And I think you're also the living example, as in releasing music yourself can still get you there, right? It's not like it's impossible. Um, but now, a few years later, you are getting momentum. You own most of your own rights, most of the income. Yeah, you're textbook material.
It also helps you build like your own following and your own fan base on Spotify and those platforms because
Hmm.
what I notice, I won't give any examples, but I see some artists that say released on Revealed and some of the big labels done pretty well, but as soon as they decide to then release something themselves, they get hardly any support, hardly any streams because that was all because of Revealed and they weren't interested in the actual artist. So
Yeah,
yeah, it's a
yeah,
shame that, but that's the way it is, I think.
yeah. But it's a good point, as in the numbers that you're getting are from real, actual fans, and not because you've leveraged somebody else's fan base.
Mm,
So it's clear data, you could say.
yeah,
It's a good point. Never thought about it like that. Yeah.
because I also like on because I'm a bit of a like a data nerd. I see with like Spotify followers and numbers and everything where perhaps an artist has I don't know, let's say like nearly a million streams on a Revealed release of theirs, but then you see they don't have much of a following. So as soon as they try and release something themselves, it will just kind of most of the time like fall flat. Whereas yeah, if you've built something up yourself and you release on Revealed, for example, like it will be amplified even more.
Yeah.
but you still have the freedom to do it yourself if you've built up the following.
Yeah, true. Good point. We've reached the end of the episode. Um, time flies. I
I bet Ralph is devastated because I know how much he wants to meet me.
yeah, yeah, exactly. I wonder if he's listening right now. I know he took a
I,
day off, so
probably not.
he probably isn't. But we'll see. I'm not sure if he's probably not here as well. Otherwise, he'll be in the chat or whatever. But yeah, they'll definitely listen to the episode afterwards. Thanks for taking the time again to do this, and yeah, best of luck with your future. As in, things are going very well, and you've built a lot of momentum right now. So keep going at it.
Yeah, thanks, Joey.
And to anyone who's listening, who's still listening, actually, that means that you're really dedicated. Thank you for that. Thank you for being here every week with us, and yeah, being part of this community and being part of this fan base. If you feel like you need more consistency with your music and you want to make more music, make sure to join that challenge, which starts tomorrow in our Discord. So go over to the description, come into a Discord, and join the challenge. The information is right there. We will be back next week with Jay, with Ralph, with me. And do you have anything to shill, Josh? Anything to end with? Any releases
I mean, the vocal version comes out on Friday of
on
the viral
Friday?
track, so
Okay, nice. So I'm very
give that a
curious to
shill.
see. Yeah, exactly. That's a cool show. Cool. So everyone, check that out for this weekend. You have a fresh track to play, and we will be back next week. Thanks for tuning in. Bye bye.